Friends, welcome to our India's Knowledge Series video number 31. Today, we will be discussing India's 108 operating segment. To put this standard into the correct perspective, let me tell you that we also have a standard on segmental reporting in Indian GAAP, AS17. AS17 was written based on the erstwhile IAS 14 segmental reporting. But when IASB is considered, the risk and rewards of operating one segment, if it's significantly differing from the risk and rewards of operating in another segment, should not be the basis for preparation and presentation of segmental reporting. It should be from the management perspective. How the management is operating, how the management is reviewing the performance of any particular segment should be the way in which the user of the financial statement should also understand. And accordingly, IAS 14 has been superseded with IFRS 8. And when we have formed Ind AS standards, we straight away took IFRS 8 and formed it as Ind AS 108. The important difference between AS 17 and Ind AS 108 basically comes from the core principle how to identify your segments. In AS 17, you identify the segment based on whether the risk and rewards of operating in one segment is significantly differing from the risk and rewards of operating from another segment. Whereas Ind AS 108 says that how the chief operational decision maker is reviewing the performance of a particular segment. Maybe I should use the word how the management information system is being reviewed by the chief operation decision maker of an entity, and how he allocates funds should be the basis compared to the risk and rewards of operating in that segment. That is exactly what Ind AS 108 is talking about. From risk and rewards model, we are moving towards what is the perspective of the management in identifying the performance of a particular vertical, maybe a business vertical or a geographical vertical, or the way in which it operates on a particular product. So that's what Ind AS 108. Before we go into Ind AS 108, let me once again remind you to post your questions, clarification you are seeking for, any inputs you wanted to give in our YouTube channel, so that I can answer in the YouTube channel itself for the benefit of all our subscribers. Let's look into what this standard is actually talking about. The structure in which we are going to discuss this standard is what is scoped in and what is scoped out of Ind AS 108. What is the core principle which we have to consider? This core principle is the crux of the standard for your information. And we are learning this core principle to understand that whether in a particular situation, this particular standard will be applicable or not based on the core principle which we are talking about. Again, my method of talking about the standards, I said we will split that into step-by-step process. Here I am considering a 4-step process in complying with the requirement of Ind AS 108. There is a concept called chief operating decision maker. From his eye of management information system, we are trying to identify whether there is one segment, more than one segment, out of the segments, what segments are reportable segment. All these things are coming out of how the chief operating decision maker or CODM is reviewing the performance of a particular business and how he allocate further resources for the operation of that particular segment. So we are trying to see from his point of view, or from his point of view of this is what we are looking into that. The next is, out of this, what do you mean by operating segment? We will identify the operating segment. We will identify the reporting segment. We will understand what is the disclosure requirement with respect to Ind AS 108. When we are saying operating segment, we are actually trying to identify how many segments in which the company is operating, or what are all the segments which are operating within the entity. Maybe based on the business vertical, or maybe based on how the MIS has been verified by the CODM. After identifying the operating segment, the next step is, out of this operating segment, what are all the segments which has to be mandatorily reported as a disclosure as part of the notes and accounts is coming from 108. We will see what is the criteria for determining or identifying the reporting segment. And there is another possibility, is that how you wanted to give the information about a segment, or how you can aggregate the segment for the purposes of presentation and disclosure. There are some aggregation criteria which is given by the standard. We will look into that particular aggregation criteria as well. And then, what is the major disclosures which are required to be done as per this particular standard is the next point of consideration. And of course, the last but not the least, we will also see what is the difference between Ind AS 108 and AS 17, because you can learn from where you have already had the reasonable knowledge, AS 17, and what is the significant differences. If you understood and practice those significant differences, you will be able to very clearly come out with the application of Ind AS 108 as well. So with that, let's go into the principle. What is scoped in? Any company to whom Indian accounting standards are applicable under the Companies Act, they should follow Ind AS 108. For other companies, Companies Accounting Standard Rules 2006 as amended from time to time will be applicable. For other than companies, the accounting standard issued by the institute will apply. So AS 17 as per the institute will be applied for other than non-corporate entities. AS 17, which is part of Indian Accounting Standard Rules 2006 as amended from time to time, will be applicable for other than Ind AS companies. And Ind AS 108 operating segments will be applicable for Ind AS companies. This is the first principle which we have to understand on the scope. Interestingly, suppose if an entity chooses to disclose the reporting as per Ind AS 108, even though it is not required to comply with 108, then it should not call that as part of segment reporting, because you are not preparing a financial statement as per Ind AS, but you wanted to adopt the principles of Ind AS 108. And to that extent, you remember that in Ind AS 101, if you wanted to call that as an Ind AS financial statement, you should have an explicit and unreserved compliance with all the applicable Ind AS standards. When we are selectively applying one particular standard for the purposes of disclosure, it doesn't make a compliance with Ind AS. And accordingly, if an entity to whom Ind AS is not applicable but wanted to give the segmental reporting as per Ind AS 108, it cannot call that as a segment information. It can give an information, because any disclosure which the management believes is useful for the management can be included, but at the same time, it cannot call that as a segment reporting. Okay, that's the second principle. Third important principle is, if an entity prepares both standalone financial statement as well as consolidated financial statement, assuming that it also has one subsidiary or associate or joint venture, it prepares a consolidated financial statement as per Ind AS to comply with the requirement of Companies Act 2013. When both standalone as well as the consolidated financial statement has been prepared by a particular company, then the segmental reporting should be given only with respect to the consolidated financial statement. You need not give any segment reporting for the standalone financial statement, because as a group, what is the performance strength, or what is the segment which is operating efficiently, what is the segment which is actually making losses and impacting the overall profitability of the entity or the group, is what we wanted to consider as part of Ind AS 108. And to that extent, if a standalone financial statement as well as consolidated is given, giving an information for standalone is not going to be the benefit for the entire stakeholders of a consolidated financial statement. And accordingly, it says that you need not give any segment reporting or operating segment reporting under 108 in standalone financial statement, but give only with respect to the consolidated financial statement. This is also a scope which we have to consider. What is the core principle with respect to Ind AS 108? This is more important aspect. What it says is that whatever information which we wanted to give should enable the users of the financial statement to evaluate which standard is performing profitably, which segments are not operating profitably, and if so, whether the overall financial statement covers the weakness of a particular operating segment by means of a strong segment. That is the way in which it is to be evaluated. Basically, how it will be evaluated: the nature and financial effect of the business activity in which it engages. That means, what is the business or operating segment in which it operates, and what is the economic environment in which it operates. Economic environment, when I am saying, what is the geographical area, or what is the location in which customers are present, the location in which the assets are being invested. So that's the economic environment in which it operates. So what is the nature and financial effects of the business activities, and what is the economic environment in which it operates? That's the way in which you decide what is the information you wanted to give as part of 108. As it says that the stakeholders of an entity should be able to have an insight into the entity's entire operation from the same perspective of that of the management. When I'm saying risk and rewards of operating in one segment is not significantly differing from another segment as per AS 17, you might have seen a majority of the entities have said they are operating in one single segment where the risk of and rewards of operating in that segment is not significantly differing from operating in another product line. For example, one of the entity which was invested, or it has a varied product line, like it was manufacturing buses, light commercial vehicle, industrial gensets, auto ancillaries. As per AS 17 used to disclose by saying they are operating on automobile and auto component industry, and accordingly the risk and rewards of operating in that remains the same. It is not significantly differing, and to that extent they concluded having one single segment. Whereas if you see the MIS of that particular industry, they might have verified, or the chief operation decision maker might have verified the performance of the heavy vehicles division separately, light commercial vehicle division separately, industrial gensets separately. So from the eye of the management, they are trying to identify the performance of each vertical. But when you are looking into, for the purpose of stakeholders, you are saying the entire company is a single segment. So that means if the performance of one particular segment is not doing well, it is covered under the carpet of other segments which are doing very well. When you are presenting on a disaggregate, you are doing on an aggregated level, company as a whole. So that is the reason why it says the stakeholder should be given an insight into entity's operation from the same perspective of that of its management. How the chief operation decision maker is looking into the performance of each vertical. Same way, you give the segmental information for the users, then only the users can understand how the company is operating in respect to its business activities and what is the economic environment in which it operates and how it affects the possibility of future profits. That is the core principles of Ind AS 108. From the perspective of the management, what is considered a segment should be the segment which you are reporting for the stakeholders also. Simple principle, right? So let's take some example. Does Ind AS 108 apply to entities that are not required to prepare consolidated financial statement? Because we said when the entity prepares standalone financial statement as well as consolidated financial statement, segmental reporting is not applicable to standalone financial statement. It will be applicable only to consolidated financial statement. Because of that, we also have a question. In case I am not required to prepare a consolidated financial statement, whether I should apply segment reporting for my standalone financial statement, which is the only financial statement I present. Yes, if you have reportable segment identified as per Ind AS 108, if you are not preparing consolidated financial statement, your segment reporting should be based on the separate financial statement, or otherwise I can say that standalone financial statement, which we very loosely use the word standalone financial statement. As per Ind AS, it is called separate financial statement, but the meaning is same for our understanding. Now, that is what I am saying. It is applicable to both standalone financial statement as well as consolidated financial statement. If consolidated financial statement is not prepared, standalone should consist of the segment reporting. If both are prepared, standalone is not requiring the segment reporting. You have to only give the segment reporting relating to consolidated financial statement. I am saying from the perspective of the chief operation decision maker. Suppose if the chief operation decision maker analyze the performance of the entity for various verticals, assuming that is more than 10, 12 or maybe 15 verticals in which he analyzes, is there any upper limit to decide what is a reportable segment that should be disclosed as per Ind AS 108? The question comes with a simple perspective. Too much of information, what is not relevant for the user's perspective, will also divert the user's attention to irrelevant information. To avoid that, is there any upper limit which we are having with respect to reportable segment? The standard actually is not saying that there should be some prescribed limit, but what it says is that if the number of reportable segments is going beyond 10, that means you are not doing a proper aggregation of the information to be used to be given to the user of a financial statement. The user of the financial statement is being dumped with a lot of irrelevant information. So accordingly, it says that in case if it exceeds 10, entity can go and evaluate whether a practical limit has been reached. Normally, if you see more than 10, the reason is very simple. There is a threshold limit of 10% for each of the cases. So more than 10 means 10% is not actually going to be there for any one of the segment. That is the reason why it says that you evaluate. The 10% threshold limit for the time being, don't worry about it. I will explain that little later for your understanding. Now, so number of reportable segment is not limited, but at the same time more than 10 means you have to evaluate whether there is a practical limit which has been reached. Now, what is the 4-step process which I am talking about? If you understand this 4-step process, any time when you are putting in practice the operating segments in preparation and presentation of the financial statement, or when you audit the disclosures of operating segments of your client, or if you are a student, when you are attempting a question on operating segment, you will be able to decipher that practical situation without any worry. That's the reason why I'm saying this particular slide assumes significant importance or crucial for you. Let us follow the process. First of all, we are saying the segments should be identified from the perspective of the management. When I'm saying the management, the standard says management should be one single person or maybe a body, and that body is taking the operation decisions. So they are going to take the decisions with respect to the operations of the entity. In other words, there should be the supreme body, chief operations decision operating decision maker, CODM, chief operating decision maker. Okay, it may be an individual, or it may be a board, or it may be a group of persons. So we have to identify who or which is the chief operating decision maker. Normally, we used to have a feeling how a company's performance is being evaluated. Who is evaluating? Maybe the CEO will evaluate, but the CEO is reporting to whom? CEO is reporting to the, assuming that, to the board of directors. Whether the board of directors are reporting to anybody else, there is a supervisory board above the board of directors. So the board of directors will be reporting to the supervisory body or supervisory board. Then in that case, the supervisory board will the chief operating decision maker. Suppose if that is not there, the board of directors will be the chief operating decision maker. In some cases, what happens is that the board of directors might have appointed a chairman and managing director. And the chairman and the managing director, because of his shareholding in the entity, or maybe because of direct and indirect shareholding in the entity, could be able to control the composition of the board of directors. And to that extent, the board of directors will operate also in accordance with his decision. In that case, the chairman and managing director could be the CODM. So in simple terms, what I'm trying to say is that you have to identify the person who is taking the ultimate decisions with respect to the particular entity. What is the decision which we have to look into? We will see a little later, based on which we are deciding who is the chief operation decision maker, right? So I'm telling you, it is not, even though CODM, chief operating decision maker is the word, it need not necessarily be one single individual. It may be even board of directors, or maybe the supervisory board, whatever could be. So that is an important point which you have to understand in step 1 of Ind AS 108. Now, what is the second one? You have to identify from the angle or from the eye of the chief operation decision maker, what are all the various operating segment. It may be a production line or product line. It may be the geographical location in which the business is operating. How he is reviewing. For example, if the concentration of the chief operation decision maker is only to see what is the performance of the business in India and with respect to exports, then the point is very, very simple. We have to see there are two areas or two verticals. One, geographical location of India and outside India is being viewed by the chief operation decision maker. Suppose if he is viewing the location other than India, and within which he believes that operating in US is one of the important vertical for him, Middle East and another important vertical for him, then we will consider operating in India is one segment, US is another segment, Middle East another segment, and all other countries may be put together is another segment. So we are simply trying to identify from the eye of CODM what are all the various operating segment in which the entity is carrying on its business. We are only trying to say what are all the various segments, right? Operating segments. After we have identified, yes, I am operating on 4 different segments: India, US, Middle East, say for example UK. So 4 segments I am operating. Out of that 4 segment, whether I have to report all the segments individually, that is as part of Ind AS 108, saying that I have 4 segments and this is the total of all the segments put together, what is reported in my profit and loss account. Whether I am mandatorily to do the segment reporting for all the operating segment which I have identified, the standard says no, go and determine what are the reportable segment. Why it uses the word reportable segment is, I may be having 10 different verticals in which CODM is actually reviewing my performance. But out of that, there are few reportable segments which are very, very critical for the entire operations of the entity. And those critical segments are determined as a reportable segment. How to determine it is critical or reportable segment? What is the criteria or what is the guidance which has been given in Ind AS 108? We will see little later. It prescribes three guidances, and the three guidances are in the same basis in which you operate. You have applied your principles in respect of Ind AS AS 17. So the way in which AS 17 is actually asking you to do the validation, same logic we apply as far as Ind AS 108 as well. But for your benefit, we will look into that reportable segment determination also with a lot of case studies and examples. Even I have two worked out examples for the benefit of the professionals as well as students. And after this, you have seen what is the eye of the CODM, and from his perspective, what are all the operating segments in which the entity operates. Out of the operating segments, what are all the segments which are meeting the criteria for reportable segment, based on which you make your disclosure, because this is not an accounting standard. This is basically a disclosure standard. So disclose the performance of each of the reportable segment and reconcile that with the primary statement. What is the primary statement? I put up a balance sheet, I put up a profit and loss account. In that case, the profit as per each reportable segment and what is unallocated, what is the total of that matching with the profit and loss account. That type of reconciliation with the principal financial statement should also be done. Simple 4-step, identify who is the CODM, identify from his angle what are all the various operating segments in which the business or the environment in which the business is being carried on. Third, out of the operating segments identified, what are the segments which is meeting the threshold limit of reportable segment. For those reportable segment, make the disclosure as per Ind AS 108 and reconcile that number, whatever number you have given. For example, income from operations for each of the segment you have given, whether all put together matches with the income from operations as per the financial statement of profit and loss. Profit for the year, whether it is matching. Tax expenses, whether it is matching. Like this, you are supposed to give a reconciliation with the principal or primary financial statement. Just these 4 steps which is required to be done. Let us move on step by step. The first step, what it says is that you have to identify who is the chief operating decision maker. CODM, as I have already explained, you have to identify whether it is an individual, whether it is a board, or whether it is something over and above the board, and who calls ultimately the shots, final shot with respect to decision making. Who is taking that call? That person is called CODM. Normally, the standard says CODM is nothing but the person who allocates resources to each of the operating segment. That means he is allocating, okay, you require so much of working capital limits. You need additional funds for capital assets procurement. You need additional requirement for expansion of the project. So he allocates resource across all the operating segments of an entity. So from his angle, what is the management information system critical for it? Based on that analysis, he is allocating the resource to certain to the various segments to ensure that the segments are making profitable, or otherwise it has to be made as profitable over a period of time. Okay, who allocates the resources or funds for the operation of the segment? And it is not just allocating the funds. If it is allocation of the funds, I can say the treasury manager is the person who is allocating the funds, but who also assesses the performance of the particular operating segment. I have given money, I am not just leaving as it is. What is the profitability? Where they have a problem and how the problem can be resolved, how the profitability can be improved, how the turnover can be improved, whether I am worried about a particular performance. All these things are what is the review or the assessment of the performance being done by CODM. This two function, whoever is ultimately taking the call is the person who is called a chief operating decision maker. If you see, I have concluded by saying it is a function, not merely a title. For example, the entity has identified a particular person and say you are the CODM. It doesn't mean that that person's angle only we have to see the operating segment. It is a function which allocates resources as well as assesses the performance to ensure that the operating segments are improving and making profitable for the overall growth of the particular entity. That is the function which is being done by CODM and not merely title. That is the reason why I am saying that it may not be simply an individual. It may be a group of individuals, or it may be a board of director, or it may be a supervisory board, or even a chief operating decision maker who ultimately takes a call. Even after the board has taken some decision, he says that this is what I want because of his shareholding in that particular entity. So we have to identify, we have identified the chief operation decision maker. Normally in Indian scenario, the board of directors will be taken as a CODM. Okay, because ultimately they are allocating the resources, they are assessing the performance. That MIS is actually going to the board of directors. Even though a CEO has been performed, CEO also makes a presentation to the board. So that is the normal scenario in which we take the CODM. And now, from the point of view of the CODM, what is the various operating segment he analyzes? Whether he analyzes based on product line, whether he is analyzing based on the economic environment in which the entity operates, based on which we will decide what is the operating segment. So operating segment, previously AS17 said significant risk in operating one particular business segment or one particular geographical segment if it is significantly differing from operating in another business segment or another geographical segment. We tend to conclude that the company is operating in more than one business segment or more than one geographical segment. And we also have a concept called, if the business segment has been identified as the primary segment, then geographical segment is considered as the secondary segment. If vice versa, that means geographical segment, if it is considered as primary segment, the business segment is considered as a secondary segment as per AS17. No such primary segment and secondary segment concept is also there in operating segment. It only talks about what is the operating segment. It may be business line or it may be geographical line. It requires certain additional information to be given based on geographical location and based on the customer concentration. That doesn't mean that whatever we are reporting is a secondary reporting segment. It is based on the additional requirement given in 108. Risk and rewards is not the basis for identifying operating segment. It's no more the key for identifying the operating segment. The operating segment, as we have already discussed, how the internal reports are regularly reviewed by the CODM in order to allocate resources to that segment and assess its performance. Normally MIS is nothing but the internal reports, right? How the MIS is being presented to the CODM, based on which he assesses the performance, and based on the requirement he allocates the resources for the particular segment. So we are seeing from the eye of the CODM or from the perspective of the CODM and not based on risk and rewards. Important principle to identify the operating segment. Let us have a decision tree to understand how to identify an operating segment. Again, this is my own style of making you to understand. If you see that there is no decision tree given in the standard, I am converting that into a decision tree because a flowchart can convey very easily the entire complex concept simply for the benefit of the users. That's the reason why I am coming with this particular concept. What is the decision tree says? Is the component is able to earn revenue. Is the component is able to earn revenues independently of another segment? If I say no, there is no operating segment at all, because it's only a cost center. It is not earning any revenues. So to that extent, the cost center should be allocated to a particular segment, which is to which it is indirectly contributing. Okay, so it is not a revenue earning component. You may also ask the question, sir, if it is a cost center, what I am supposed to do? Whether I have to allocate to other operating segments or I have to see that as an unallocable segment. Normally, the assets and liabilities, income and expenditure relating to a component which is not earning revenue separately is allocated to other segments on a systematic manner, some logical basis based on which we allocate. If we are not able to allocate with any reasonable basis, then that entire cost center should be considered as an unallocated segment. Or when I am saying unallocated assets, why that has to be there? We said you have to make your operating segment results and you have to reconcile that with the profit and loss account. Suppose if certain expenditure is not allocated to any of the operating segment, what will happen? To that extent, the expenditure total sum of the expenditure of all the operating segments will not be equivalent to what is stated in the profit and loss account. So you should have the last but one column before that, unallocated segment. In unallocable expenses, assets or liabilities will be forming part of that. Sum total of the segmental assets and liabilities plus the unallocated balance will match with the number shown in the primary financial statement, which is the balance sheet. Similarly, the revenue from various segments plus unallocated item will be equivalent to revenue as per the statement of profit and loss account. The expenditure of various segments plus the unallocated expenditure will be equivalent to the total expenditure shown as per the statement of profit and loss account. So we are supposed to first see whether it's a component is able to generate revenue. If I say no, it is not an operating segment at all. It has to be only allocated or should be treated as an unallocated expenditure or asset or whatever case may be. Suppose if I'm saying yes, it earns revenue. The next question is, what we have said, as operating segment should be reviewed by the CODM. The result should be reviewed by the CODM. Whether the components results are reviewed regularly, not only once. Every month he analyzes, every quarter he analyzes, every half year he analyzes, every year end it analyzes. Whatever periodicity which normally they review that, it is being regularly reviewed by the CODM. If I'm saying no, then there is no operating segment because he is not bothered about the performance of a particular segment. In his view, it is not an important operating segment. So he is not worried about that segment at all. Suppose if I am saying yes, he regularly reviews the performance of a particular component. Next important point is when we wanted to say this is the profit, this is the turnover, this is the asset, this is the liability pertaining to that particular segment, we should be able to have a discrete information. That's a separate information should be available. Financial information should be available for that particular component. Only if it is available, we can show that separately. He can also review only based on that. If I am saying that discrete information is not available, company as a whole only is available, then there is no operating segment. Suppose if I am saying yes, discrete information is also available, then that particular component is called an operating segment. A component may be a product line, a component may be the geographical location in which it operates, it may be a combination of 2-3 products together put one particular component. For example, healthcare products, it may include toothpaste, brush, or medicines, your body lotions, whatever may be added to healthcare product. And if you're saying that maybe some beverages which are going to increase or it is supplement to some vitamins, then that will also be part of your healthcare product. And if I'm saying I have a trading division which just buys and sells, say power. I'm having a power generation unit also. So in that case, power is not what you call coming under the various products. It's a separate product, right? Separate item. But it's a separate component. It earns revenue. It is being reviewed by the CODM. Suppose that the power generation is very negligible, he may not be interested in reviewing it, right? So if it is a significant component, he will be reviewing. If you have a separate books of accounts, separate information available for that particular component, maybe even separate books of accounts is not maintained, but cost center wise you can pull out the information from your software. That is also a discrete information. In that case, that power generation will be one operating segment, and healthcare product will be all product put together can be one operating segment. So it may be one product segment or multiple product together, based on which the CODM reviews the performance. Suppose if the CODM is reviewing the performance on dental care products separately, healthcare products separately, then you should consider dental care as a separate operating segment and healthcare as a separate operating segment. So from the eye of the CODM, how the discrete informations are available for various components, each component will be an operating segment if they are earning revenues. If it is a cost center, then proportionate allocation or unallocated balance, right? This is the importance of identifying an operating segment. Let us try to take some question. Is there any primary and secondary reporting segments under Ind AS 108? We said that no. The approach followed is from the management perspective. So management's perspective, maybe business is the operating segment, or the area in which I operate, geographical location will be the operating segment. Only operating segment is considered. There is no concept of primary or secondary reporting segment. Second, can a part of the entity not be included under any operating segment in spite of earning revenue and incurring the expenditure? So that means I don't want to include anything as an operating segment. Is it possible? Every business activity of the entity need not necessarily an operating segment, because if you see the previous decision tree, we said whether it is a revenue, it generates revenue. Immediately we said yes, means we have gone to the next question of whether the CODM reviews the performance. If we said no, it is automatically not an operating segment, right? So that should also be part of it. And after that, we have said whether discrete information is available. Only if all the three conditions are satisfied, we say a part of the segment of the business will be an operating segment. Otherwise, it is not an operating segment. So accordingly, every business activity need not necessarily be an operating segment according to Ind AS 108. Let me take one example for you to understand. Here we are talking about manufactures, sells healthcare products, product A, and food and grocery product, product B and C. One is food products and another is healthcare product. Discrete financial information is available for each manufacturing and selling activity of each of the products. So that means it meets the third condition. There are two line managers responsible for manufacturing activities of the product A, B and C. That means there is something operational segment that is also there. And one condition which we are still looking for is whether it is being reviewed by the chief operating decision maker on a regular basis. That is also answered correctly. The operating results of the products are regularly reviewed by the CODM. Identify the reportable segment. Of course, first we will say identify the operating segments of ABC Limited. We will say both the healthcare and food and grocery product line will meet the criteria of operating segment because it is generating revenues. It is being reviewed periodically by the CODM. It has discrete information and accordingly it meets all the three conditions relating to operating segment. So product line, healthcare product and grocery product, food and grocery product will be two different segments. Suppose the CODM is reviewing the performance of healthcare products separately, food product separately, grocery products separately, then it becomes 3 operating segments according to our assessment, because each of them are generating independent cash flows. CODM is reviewing independently 3 operating segments, and discrete information is also available for that. In that case, instead of we concluding 2, it may be 3, depending upon how the CODM is analyzing the information. In this case, they are only saying that the operating results of the products are regularly reviewed. That means as a healthcare product and food and grocery product. So it has 2 operating segment from the eye of the CODM, which meets the threshold, which meets the recognition criteria. Let us take one more example. X Limited is engaged in manufacture and sale of 2 distinct type of product A and B. X Limited supplies the product in the domestic market in India as well as in Singapore. There are 2 regional managers responsible for manufacturing activities of the product A and B worldwide, and also 2 other managers responsible for different geographical areas. So here what happens is the performance analysis is being made not only based on the manufacturing activity but also based on what is done in India and what is done in abroad or Singapore. The internal reporting purposes, X Limited provides information product wise as per the geographical location of the company. So that means the CODM, whether he is reviewing on the same basis. CODM already regularly reviews the operating results for both sets of components. That means there are operating segments which are based on the product line, which are also based on the performance of the location. So the geographical areas wise sales as well as product areas may meet the criteria for operating segment. So accordingly, which segment constitute the operating segment with reference to the core principle? So here there is a mix, right? Product base also I can give a report based on the location of customers or where I am actually earning that revenue is also another possibility, because there is a mixed response which is coming in. Can I say that product A and product B is one operating segment, India is one operating segment, Singapore is another operating segment? It will be confusing, right? The same sales has to be split into various categories. They will be having a repetition in both the situations, right? To avoid that scenario, what it says that the management may make a judgment. So maybe when I'm saying management making a judgment from the point of view of the CODM, which is important for him? Operations on geographical location is important, or operation based on the product line is important? If he analyzes or gives importance for product line more, then we have to consider A and B as the reportable as the segment, operating segment. If he is not worried about the product, but what is local sales and what is foreign sales, that is the only concern which he is having, then the geographical basis of performance will be the basis of operating segment. So you have to be clear. In one case, distinct information everywhere, very clear information is available to identify the operating decision maker. Where the situation is mixed, you have to make a judgment, which is the most important information from the perspective of the CODM. Now, we have concluded 2 steps, identifying the CODM and from his angle, what is the operating segment. Whether all the operating segment should be reported. The standard says no, you have to identify what are all the segments which are important for the understanding of the users, for which the standard gives 3 tests. I should say revenue based test, asset based test, result based test. When I am using this 3 tests, you may recap what you have learned in AS 17. There also we are saying the threshold limit based on the turnover or the revenues, based on the results, based on the assets. The same threshold limit is here. So according to me, when you come to step 3, your requirement is equivalent to what you have learned in AS7. First 2 steps are important. When coming to the 4th step, it's very simple. You have to only make a reporting according to Ind AS 108 for the segments which has been identified as the reporting segment. Okay, so that is what we are going to do on the third. What is the three distinctive limit or criteria which we will test? One is whether the reported revenue, when I am saying reported revenue, don't take it, take the turnover as per books of accounts. Because as per books of accounts, whatever internal segmental revenue should be might have been eliminated. Because, for example, one of my factory is manufacturing the raw material and sending it to the other factory as input. We will consider that factory A is one of the operating segment. Factory B is another operating segment. But if I am adding the sales of factory A and what is sold by factory B, I am considering internal turnover as well as external customers turnover, right? Whereas in P&L, we only consider the external customers revenue. Even if I am having a billing process for the purpose of GST, what is billed from A to B will be considered as a purchases by B and sales by A. When consolidating the two trial balances, both will get eliminated. So accordingly, P&L amount will be different, and what is the reported revenue from internal as well as external customer is what A bills to B and B bills to the third party. Both put together, what is the amount? Assuming that it's 500. 10% of 500 or more than 10% should be considered as the operating segment based on reported revenue. What the reported revenue says, first you have to add internal revenue from internal customer plus revenue from external customer. On that, what are all the segments which have reported a revenue of more than 10% of the total sum? Those segments are considered as a reportable segment straight away. Interestingly, even though I talk about three different criteria, even if one criteria is met by one segment, that automatically becomes a mandatory reporting segment. 10% threshold limit of reported revenue crossed, it becomes a mandatory reporting segment. The second condition is interesting condition. Maybe I will come to that little later. I will first finish the third one, which is very simple. The third one says total assets of all operating segment. Again, what is the segment assets and segment liabilities is not defined as per Ind AS 108. But whatever assets which has been used by the particular segment is a segment asset. Segment assets of all segments, sum total of that is the total assets of all operating segment. If any segment is having more than 10% of that particular total combined assets, that is a reportable segment. For example, segment A uses 200 lakhs worth of asset. Segment B uses 40 lakhs worth of asset. Segment C uses 50 lakhs worth of asset. So total assets is 200 plus 40 plus 50, 290. On 290, 10% is 29. I have to see whether first segment has crossed that. It's a 200, so automatically reportable segment. Second is 50, that is also a reportable segment. Third is 40, that is also a reportable segment. So by simple assessment of 10% of the assets to the overall combined asset, if any segment is having that particular segment asset, that will also be a reportable segment. So even if the first condition is not satisfied, but the last condition is satisfied, that becomes a mandatory reportable segment. Any one condition, that becomes a reportable segment. Now we will come to the second one. Why the second one I have kept it later is, it involves little bit of step-by-step understanding. What it says, if you read it, it will be confusing. It says its reportable profit or loss is 10% more of the greater of the combined profit of all operating segments that did report a loss, that did not report a loss, that means they are profitable, and the combined reported loss of all operating segments that reported a loss. Little confusing. Very simple. What it says is that now we have considered three segments, right? A, B, C. Maybe I will say there are 5 segments, A, B, C, D, E. And out of that 5 segment, A and E are profitable segment. We will put them as a separate bucket. Segments making profits, category 1. B, C, D are making losses. Combine all these things and put that as bucket 2. This is the category where the operating results of the segments are in loss. Now, what is the absolute number of the aggregate loss? What is the absolute number of the aggregate profit? 2 segments, assuming that I'll put some number at a later point of time. I'm just giving that. The aggregate of the profits of A and B put together comes to 60. And aggregate of the losses of the C, D and B, C, D comes to, say, for example, minus 60. One we said it's 50 profit and minus 60 is the combined results of the segments operating in losses. But what it says is that you have to consider the absolute number. When I am saying absolute number, minus 60 becomes 60. So 60 versus 50, which is greater? 60 is the greater. Then 10% of 60 should be applied for all these segments in profit or in losses in absolute terms. So for example, segment A has made a profit of 4 lakhs. And what we have said, total losses is 60, 10% of is 6. That 6 is compared with the profit of segment A, which is making profit. But we said it's only 4 lakhs. So it is less than 10% of the reported profit or loss, which is 10% or more, greater of the combined profit of all operating segments which are making profit and all operating segments which are making losses on absolute terms, right? So in this case, it's 60 is higher than 50 and 10% of 60 is 6. That 6 will be considered for each of the segments A, B, C, D, E, and based on which, so A is making a profit of only 4. It is not a reportable segment. B is loss making, but it is made 12 lakhs of loss. That is more than 6 in absolute number. So B will be a reporting segment. Interesting. The profit making segment is excluded as a reportable segment, but the loss making segment, because it is more than 10% of the absolute amount of the result of the operating segments making losses, making profits. Okay. So that is the second category. I will explain the second again. First, you have to do step 1. Segregate the segments which are making profits into one bucket. Add all the profits of the segment, that is A. Segregate the other segments which are making losses into bucket 2. All the losses of bucket 2, aggregate losses of bucket 2, say that is B. Consider whether A or B in absolute number. Don't consider this is a plus number, that is minus number. Both are in absolute. A is greater than B. If so, 10% of A should be checked for the profit or loss of all the segments. Suppose if I am saying loss is higher in absolute number compared to profit, aggregate profit of the segments which are operating in profit, then 10% of the aggregate loss should be taken and that should be checked with the absolute result of all the segments to determine that 10%. Now you are clear? If you are not clear, let me take one worked out example for you to understand the principle. Then you will be very clear on this reportable segment. Because the moment you have cleared the reportable segment, you are done with this standard. Others are only the disclosure requirement. So here I am taking a case of M Limited. I am taking 2016 number. Forget about 2016 number. Even if it is 2020 or 19, the principle remains the same. So it operates in various geographical locations: India, Japan, China, Russia, USA, UK. The total is available. External sales is there, inter-segment sales is there. So we should not take 168 on which 10% should be applied. We will be making a loss, making a wrong conclusion. 168 plus 91, which is 259 total segment. 10% of that, 25.9 or 26 maybe for calculation, that 26 should be applied to each of the segment. Any segment which is having more than 26 should be considered as a reportable segment. So India 90, more than that automatically it becomes a mandatory reporting segment. Japan is 8 only, whereas 26. So it is not a reportable segment based on the first threshold limit of revenue. 33 is more than 26, so it is a reportable segment. China is a reportable segment. Russia is also a reportable segment. USA is also a reportable segment. But UK is only 11, so it is not a reportable segment based on first criteria. That's what I think that we have seen. India, China, Russia and USA are having more than 10% or more of the total revenues from internal and external customers. Then they are reportable segment, mandatorily reportable segment. This is the first condition. Then we have to apply the second condition. Second condition says you have to see what is the result in absolute number. For that you have to aggregate them into profit making segments and loss making segment. Let us see. There are 1, 2, 3 segments are loss making and 3 segments are profit making. So 17 plus 27, which is 44 plus 19, 59 is A. B is 2 plus 3 plus 5, that is 10, minus 10. In absolute number it is 10. I am comparing whether 59 is higher or 10 is higher. 59 is higher. So 10% of 59, 5.9. That should be compared with each of the segment results. 17 is higher than 5.9. So it is becoming a mandatory reportable segment. Japan is less than 5.9 in absolute number. So I am not considering. China is not considered. Russia is more than that. I am considering. US is more than that. I am considering. UK is less than that. I am not considering. So what happens is China was considered as a mandatory reporting segment based on revenue threshold. Whereas under result threshold, China is not a reportable segment. But what we have said, even in one condition is satisfied, that becomes automatically a mandatory reporting segment. So accordingly, what happens now is that India, Japan, China, Russia, US continues to be there. Now we are worried about only 2, Japan and UK. Coming to the third condition. What is the third condition? 10% of this aggregate combined total asset. If it has, then it is a reportable segment. 196 is the combined total asset. 10% of that is 19.6. 19.6 is compared with each one of this. What happens? India is 81, so it is a reportable segment. Already we have identified that in the first category itself. Second category also it met. Third category also it met. Anyway, one condition is enough to make it as a reportable segment. Japan was not a reportable segment based on total revenue as well as total segment result. Now, 19.6 vis-a-vis the total assets which has been installed. Japan crosses that 10% threshold limit. So Japan is also becoming a mandatory reporting segment based on this. China anyway, it's less than this based on asset criteria, but already covered based on turnover criteria. Russia is less than the asset criteria, but it has already covered by revenue criteria and segment criteria. Then USA is more than 10%. Anyway, it is covered here. It is also covered here. It is also covered here. In all the 3 conditions satisfied is India and US. One condition satisfied is Japan, which is based on asset. One condition satisfied based on revenue is China. 2 conditions satisfied is basically Russia. And accordingly, what is not at all satisfied is only UK. Other than UK, everything is a reportable segment. Let us understand whether I have done the same thing. Let me first go to the working result that you will find out. External sales, internal sales, put together what is the total revenue. So the 35% is nothing but 90 divided by 259. What is the percentage? It is 35%, more than 10% of the total. I can even do the percentage, or I can even go by the number. But since we are using the word as a percentage, if it crosses 10% or more, because of that, in your examination point of view, you can just put that as a percentage and then say that because it crosses 10% of the total segment revenue, it is a reportable segment. You can conclude that 4 has been identified in step 1 itself. Then based on asset, based on result, what we are coming to, we are adding up all the 3 segments which are making profit 59, all the segments which are making losses, but in absolute number we are adding, that is 10. Higher of this 2 is 59. On this 59, 17 divided by 59 is 29%. 2 divided by 59 is 3%. 3 divided by 59 is 5%. 27 divided by 59 is 46%. Just see, I am taking absolute number when I am arriving at the percentage for result, as well as for the purpose of identifying the bucket A and bucket B. There also I am taking absolute number. That is what is important for you. And on that basis, I have identified not 4, whatever was observed in previous one. China is not considered as the reporting segment in this case. I think it's a China, right? Yeah, it's a China. So China is not considered as a reporting segment here. But China anyway is already covered. So automatically it becomes a mandatory reporting segment. For answering the 3 possibilities, we are working out. Otherwise, what I am supposed to do is I have to only consider this one, which is what is that? Japan and UK alone, I might have tested for the other 2 conditions. But for examination point of view, put all the 3 working notes and then decide why it is like that. So the third condition is 10% or more of the total assets. Total asset is 196 and 81 is the segment asset. 81 divided by 196 is 41%. So on that basis also it is covered. So what has happened now? 1, now the second one is also covered because of the asset criteria. 2, 3, 4, 5. What is not at all covered, what is not in green, is that UK. Except UK, all others are segment reporting. So UK will be categorized as other segments or others, or maybe I can put it for reconciling the overall number. Clear? Should be clear, right? Now, let's move on to our understanding. The 3 tests are important. Third step is over. One important consideration is, maybe I have applied this test. When I applied this test, the 3 segments which I have, or 4 segments which I have identified, right? Or 5 we have identified. That 5 segment, if I am adding all the revenue together, it should cover at least 75% of the total consolidated revenue. If 75% of the total consolidated revenue is not covered, then from the other segments I have to add, even though it is not mandatorily reportable segment, I have to add in accordance with the preference of the management. There is no condition that you have to add only UK, and you can also have some other segments. You can prefer to give any other segment. Add segments additionally in order to cover minimum of 75% of the total consolidated revenue. This is a minimum requirement to cover when you present a consolidated reportable segment. Identified 3 segments, I am putting all the numbers, but put together it is not coming to 75. Then take another 1 or 2 or 3, whatever required from other non-reportable segment, and include minimum coverage of 75%. Okay, this is exactly, it is what is the third step. Now, how to aggregate a product or a location or customer? What it says is, it is inconsistent with the core principle. What is the core principle? Which makes profit, which makes revenue, and which is reviewed by the chief operating decision maker. Discrete information is available, then it becomes a segment, right? From the eye of the chief operating decision maker. The aggregation should also be based on the core principle of how the chief operating decision maker reviews the performance and allocates the resources. That should be the basis. Okay. So normally you will consider what is the similar economic characteristics in which the particular segment is operating. There are some 5 characters which you can also consider for the purposes of consolidation. Suppose if you are not able to identify something based on the first bullet or second bullet, what it says that maybe nature of product or services, maybe based on production process, class of customers, method of supply chain, distribution channels, what is the regulatory environment in which that particular segment is operating. Based on this, you can actually aggregate them and aggregate this for the purposes of reporting as one of the segment, right? When aggregating 2 immaterial segments, majority of the 5 specific criteria should be met. So assuming that if I am trying to combine, because I don't have any only 2 segments more than 10% is there, but it is not covering 75%. I wanted to combine some other immaterial segments together for the purposes of meeting that 75% threshold limit. When I am combining, I have to see segment C and segment D whether it can be combined, or segment C should be combined with segment D based on majority of the fulfillment of the 5 conditions. So 3 conditions, if it is fulfilled by C and D, then that will be the aggregation. Suppose only 2 conditions each has been satisfied by C and D and C and E, then I will see whether any other possibility of arriving at a judgment. Okay, that's the way in which the aggregation has to be done. That is only a guiding principle. Let us take another example. In the business of manufacturing and selling papers, variety of papers, adhesive paper, anti-paper, that paper, all those things have been done. Whether it has to classify this paper into different segment, because different products, whether it has to be different segment. So if all the factors such as nature of product, production process, type of customer, method of distribution, regulatory environment is common, I will simply say the aggregation criteria for the segment says it is nothing but paper and paper related products. So in that particular situation, I can aggregate that and say that I have only one segment. Because I have only one segment, there is no 2 different segments or 2 reportable segments. The standard says if an entity has only one reportable segment, Ind AS 108 is not applicable. And if it is not applicable, you have to disclose that fact it is not applicable because you are operating in one single operating segment. And at the same time, it also requires a certain additional information based on the location of customers, based on the location of assets and concentration of customers, etc. It requires that information anyway has to be given in case if there is some information based on that particular logic. We will come to that little later. So in this particular scenario, even though I manufacture 4 different papers, but all of them are having the same production process, same type of customer, same method of supply chain, same regulatory environment, I will simply say I am in the business of manufacturing and selling papers, one operating segment. I can aggregate them based on that particular criteria. This is an important aspect, otherwise you will end up with having so many segments being identified. Another question, let us try to understand. We have pharma, FMCG, Ayurveda, others. External customer, internal customer, revenue, internal customer revenue, profit, assets, all of them are there. Let us apply the same 3 acid test 10% threshold limit. What is our first threshold limit? 10% of the total revenue from internal and external customer. Let us see, internal customer is 45 lakhs, external customer is 108 lakhs, 108 plus 45 is 153. On 153, what is 97%? 97, because here it is 97, right? So 97 plus 0 is 97. So 97 lakhs divided by 153, it is more than 10%. So that pharma is covered based on revenue. Second is 0 plus 4 lakhs is 4 lakhs. 4 lakhs divided by 153 is less than 10%. So FMCG is not covered based on the revenue characteristics. Ayurveda is 3 lakh plus 0 is 3 divided by 153. That is also less than 10%, not covered. Others is 41 plus 8, 49. 49 divided by 153 is automatically covered. So to that extent, others is also a segment which has to be covered based on revenue criteria. Now go to the profit or loss criteria. Here the profit is, total profit is 30 lakhs. All of them are making profits. There is no item which is making losses. So our life is very simple. In case if they are making losses, then I have to worry about segregating that into A and B. Here all of them are making profit. So total profit is 30. 20 divided by 30 is more than 10%. Pharma is covered. 2.5 divided by 30 lakhs comes to less than 10%, not covered. 2 lakh divided by 30 lakhs is not covered. 5.5 divided by 30 lakhs is covered. So by profit also only pharma and others are considered. Let us come to the asset side. Total assets is 90 lakhs. Pharma is having 55. 55 divided by 90 is more than 10% covered. FMCG previously not covered based on revenue, based on profit. 25 divided by 90 is more than 10%, right? More than 9 lakhs. It is also covered as a reportable segment. Previously not covered in the previous two tests. Ayurveda is only 4 lakhs, less than 9 lakhs, which is 10%. 6 lakhs, which is less than 10%. So these two are not covered. But first one is covered in all the categories. Second one is covered based on asset. Others is covered based on turnover and profit, but not based on asset. Now you understood? Now what is our limits? Whatever we have applied. So segment pharma should separately report pharma since it meets all three threshold limit criteria. But it's enough even if it is only one condition is satisfied. FMCG does not satisfy the revenue and profit but satisfies the asset test. So that is also reportable segment. Ayurveda is not meeting any of the threshold limits, so it is not there. Others is aggregate of other items. So accordingly, others will be put as a simple segment because it's more than 10%. I can put that as a segment. Or otherwise, I can add Ayurveda also part of my other segments to put it. Only two reportable segment and the balance is the other than the reportable segment put together. Suppose what happens here, my pharma sales is 63.4 and FMCG is 2.61. Put together how much is covered? 63.4 plus 2.61 is 65.4, 66.01, right? But what is the minimum coverage which we are supposed to do is 75%. And to that extent, we should, it may be considered as reportable and separately disclosed if information is useful. This is another interesting point. Before that, I will come to the second portion. The second portion says minimum coverage of 75% should be added. What to be added? From other segment, I have to add certain items, identify them to include up to 75%. At the same time, at the discretion of the management, if the management believes that Ayurveda is going to be, say for example, I am just giving an example. Ayurveda this year it is not performing well, but very major scope has been identified because of COVID-19 situation on Ayurvedic medicine, and accordingly they believe that in 2021 onwards it will be shooting up. So it is an upcoming segment because it started only in the current year, but it's going to be an upcoming segment. And for the users to understand that if the management on its discretion wanted to disclose, it can disclose even if it is not meeting the threshold limit. So it doesn't mean that because it is not meeting 10% threshold limit, it has to be totally ignored. On the discretion of the management, it can be added, provided, only one condition, provided it is necessary for the understanding of the users. That is going to be upcoming segment on a go forward basis. But the minimum 75% should be covered. So out of others, I have to identify what are all the segments which can be added and 75% will be covered. That is an additional exercise which we are supposed to do. Let's take one worked out example. to understand this concept with some actual numbers, maybe with little bit of additional complexity. Here I am saying internal sales, external sales. We are only having sales, no assets, no profits. So accordingly, forget about the other two tests. In this example, we are only having only one item. So based on which only we can apply that principle. So your total revenue is 100 lakhs and segment A is having 30 lakhs. 30 divided by 100 is 30%. So it's a reportable segment. B is 6.5 divided by 100 is less than the reportable segment. So it is not a reportable segment. 9.5 is also not a reportable segment. So segment C is also not a reportable segment. Segment D is 54 divided by 100. It's a 51%. So that is also a reportable segment. But what additionally they are saying is that segment C is a new business segment and management expect that this segment is to go a significant contribution to external revenue in the coming years. Like what I have explained about Ayurvedic medicine is going to penetrate because of the COVID-19 situation. If the management believes that, it can add this segment on its own discretion. Okay. When we are taking 30 lakhs and 54 lakhs, it is 84 lakhs. So 75% is already covered. But on a discretionary basis, because management wanted to have this, it can voluntarily add this and has to explain why they have added this particular segment. Why it is important from the point of view of the user, that has to be explained. Let us see whether that is the same answer which is coming in. So B and C is not meeting the criteria. However, A and D, oh, what happens? B and C is not making the criteria, but A's turnover is 30 lakhs, right? So 10% is 10 lakhs and A exceeds 10 lakhs, D exceeds 54 lakhs. This is wrong actually. The two segments A and D actually covers 84%. It is not 70%. So I think that the number might have been lower. It might be 34 lakhs or something like that. I will go and check the original problem which I have given to my team. So if it is, it is 30 plus 54, right? 84 lakhs. So 75% is already covered. Assuming that it's not 54. It is only, say for example 44, then it's only 74 lakhs. It's not reaching 75%. Then in that case you have to additionally add. Please correct this, there is an error. Maybe what you can do is you can make this as 34 lakhs. Then you will have the same answer instead of 54 lakhs. There is an error in this. I'm telling you, I have observed the error. Please correct it. Or otherwise correct this, because A and D has crossed 75%. This need not be applied at all because it is 84 lakhs divided by 100 is 84%. So this too is not to be included as part of your answer. Suppose if it is less than 70%, then you have to add it. But C is going to be an important aspect for you, and accordingly to that extent you add that. So there is something wrong in this. Why it is wrong? 87%. It is 87% C. So I think that the number has been changed, but it is not applied properly on this. That's the reason why you are having the problem. They have changed the numbers, but they have not changed the calculations here. So for our understanding, A and D put together, it's 84%, and accordingly 75% threshold limit has been already changed. Discretionary basis C is being disclosed. So this portion of the answer you can correct it in your working notes. The 74% and this comment is incorrect in this particular worked out example, right? Okay. Then now we go to the last step. That's the fourth step, making disclosures and reconciling with that number. What is reconciliation is, I have told, 4 components put together, 4 operating segment put together. This is the total revenue. But what is the reportable segment? What is the revenue reported in the profit and loss account? Difference between that number and this number is your reconciliation number. And you have to explain why that reconciliation comes in. Maybe because of internal revenue is also being added for the purpose of reporting. Okay. Factors used to identify other disclosure which are required is how you have identified the segment, how you have identified the reportable segment. That is what you have to explain. What is the basis of the organization, how the structure, what is the product line, or what is the segments in which it operates, and how you have arrived at the reportable segment based on the threshold limit. What is the products and services included in each of the reportable segments which derives its revenue. We have to explain what segment A consists of. It may be textile product, B is consumer FMCG product, C is healthcare product. Like that, you have to explain what is the product and services which is included in each reportable segment. What is the revenue from external customers? You have to identify and report it specifically. What is the revenue from other internal segment? That has to be reported as a separate line item. Interest and interest income, both finance cost and finance income should be shown separately. If you could allocate to individual segment, otherwise normally people used to show that as part of your unallocated expenses. Depreciation and amortization, if you are able to allocate on a systematic basis, normally because you have discrete information, interest expenses will also be available, interest income will also be available, depreciation and amortization will also be available. You will take all these items. Suppose that information, for example, the entire funding process is being done by a corporate office in a treasury division, and it is not allocating to each of this, and you are not able to systematically allocate also based on how much loan has been used, etc. You are not able to identify. In that case, this will go as an unallocated, but depreciation and amortization will not be unallocated, because for each segment to arrive at the profitability, you will have this particular number. Income tax expenses and income for each of the segment, if it is not available, then you can have it as an unallocated and reconcile with the overall number. The reconciliation should be total of the reportable segment's revenue to the entity's total revenue as per profit and loss account. Total of profit or loss of all the reportable segment vis-a-vis what is the profit or loss as per profit and loss account, both continuing operation, discontinuing operation put together. Total of the reportable segment's asset to the entity's assets. Total of the reportable segment's liabilities to entities' liabilities. Because a share liability, when I am saying share capital and reserves and surplus are not part of the liability. So non-current liability and current liability put together should be the reportable segment's liability. And sometimes internal liability will also be there. That will also be taken into consideration, right? So you have to reconcile that number, including unallocable items. This is basically for the segment-wise information. Entity-wise disclosure, that's what I said. Even if you have concluded that there is no reportable segment, entity-wise disclosure may be required, where you have to say what is the revenue from external customers for each and group of similar product and services. Maybe not operating segment, but similar product and services based on geographical area, inside India, outside India. What is the revenue and assets which you are having? And interestingly, it also says, if you are earning more than 10% or more of the total revenue from a single customer, you have to actually disclose the number of customers and the total revenue from such customer. You have to disclose. Assuming that total revenue is 100 lakhs. Two of the customer contributes, say customer A contributes 30 lakhs and customer B contributes say 15 lakhs. Both of them are having more than 10% of the total revenue, right? So two customer and revenue from that two customers is 45 lakhs is what I am supposed to disclose additionally. That is what information about major customers. You may ask why. Whether you are dependent on few customers, concentration risk they wanted to assess, that's the reason why this is coming in as part of the disclosure. Let's take something for understanding the disclosure requirement also. Can segment information be omitted from disclosure if the management concludes that disclosing the information will be seriously prejudicial to the interest of the company? This normally every company says, sir, it's a sensitive information. very information is very particular about confidential information for the operation, product line, etc. So I wanted to avoid this segmental reporting. Is it possible as per Ind AS 108? There is no such exemption which has been given. It simply says that if the threshold limit has been met, you have to necessarily give that information. There is no such exemption has been given based on your prejudicial or non-prejudicial. It's not there. Second, outside the scope of Ind AS 108, but it voluntarily wanted to give a disclosure. Can it give a segmental reporting or operating segment reporting? What it says is that the standard says, if you recollect what we have discussed earlier, it says you can comply all the information and give this as a segment information or reporting, or selective disclosure without using the word segment reporting you can give. But only thing is, you should not say it is as per Ind AS 108. So you are only trying to give an additional information, not in accordance with Ind AS 108. So you can give that information as a segment information reporting or segment information, not having the heading also you can give. And the moment you started giving it consistently, you are expected to give year on year onwards. Is the identity of the customers which account for more than 10%. We said no. The information relating to major customer A and customer B constituting more than 45%, and each of them are more than 10%. Whether I have to say customer A so much of revenue, customer B so much of revenue, whether the name and identity of the customer to be disclosed. Assuming that instead of A I am saying HPCL Limited, IOCL Limited, whether I have to mention the name of the customer, that will be prejudicial to the interest of the entity. So what the standard says, you can simply say to customer and so much of the revenue. You can simply give that. There is no requirement to disclose the identity. If it is a single operating segment, what disclosure, if any, are required? So you have to first disclose that because it's a one single segment, you are not required to make any reportable segment disclosure, but entity level disclosure, whatever we have seen before, right? So that is based on paragraph 31 and to 34 of Ind AS 108. That should be disclosed. Let's see what is the difference between Ind AS and AS. Majority of the cases I have already discussed, but anyway, we will have a quick recap of what our understanding of this particular presentation. One, Ind AS 108 versus AS 17. Ind AS 108 is applicable only if Ind AS is applicable, whereas AS 17 will be applicable for all other entities. Segments are identified from the eye of the CODM, whereas here it is based on whether operating in a particular segment is different from operating in another segment. And segment, when we are talking, it's product line or the geographical location as per AS 17. If product line has been identified as the reportable segment, that becomes a primary segment. Geographical location becomes a secondary segment. You have to mandatorily give certain disclosure for secondary segment. That is AS 17 is talking about. And interestingly, Ind AS 108, because it is from the angle of the CODM, how the MIS has been prepared should be the basis of your segment reporting, not based on the accounting policies adopted for financial statement. That only do a reconciliation. Whereas if you say AS 17 says that the measurement basis should be in the same basis in which you prepare your financial statement. Completely different, right? That is based on financial statement, because we are talking about risk and rewards of operating in one segment to operating to another segment. Whereas here we are preparing based on MIS, based on the eye of the CODM. Accordingly, what is the measurement he has applied should be the application. The perfect common sense and logic or principles are being applied. You will understand the reason why it is being done. Because it's prepared based on the eye of the CODM, his measurement principle should also be applied in identifying the segment revenue, segment profit, segment asset. Whereas in AS 17, it is based on risk and rewards. So according to the financial statement accounting policy, you have to measure the segment asset, segment liability, segment profit, segment results. Right? Interesting. What it says is that segment asset, segment revenue, segment liability, all those items are actually, it is a segment expenditure. It is not actually defined in Ind AS 108, whereas AS 17 has a separate disclosure for those items as well. This should be segment expenditure, otherwise this should be expenditure. Segment revenue, segment expenditure, result and asset and liability have been separate, have been very clearly defined. It requires to aggregate the segment based on similar economic characteristics. That's what we have seen. Aggregation criteria, 5 criteria which we have seen based on production line, based on the geographical location in which you operate, based on the distribution channel. Like that we have seen 5 criteria based on which you have to aggregate the items for disclosure. There is no specific guidance given in AS 17. Entity-wide disclosures mandatory as per Ind AS 108. Even if you are operating only in one single reportable segment. Whereas in AS 17, there is no disclosure relating to entity-wide. But if you are going to say, I have only one reportable segment, which is a business segment, and accordingly, AS 17 is not applicable. But still, secondary segment related information you have to give. Again, secondary segment reporting says that if the total revenues are more than 10% of the total segment revenue, then based on the geographical location of your customer, you have to disclose. If the assets invested in India or any other geographical location is more than 10%, based on the location of assets, you have to give a secondary segment mandatorily. Suppose those are also less than 10%, you can simply say that the manufacturing and the operations of the companies are limited to India. Accordingly, no secondary segment information has been provided for. Whereas entity-wide disclosure is not based on primary or secondary segment. Naturally, it has to be given. For example, in one of the client case, we have seen all other entity level disclosures were not required to be done, but there are customers who are having more than 10%. So we have consolidated 4 customers contributing more than 10% each. What is the total turnover contributed by them? That we have disclosed. That is the end of Ind AS 108. To recap, what we have seen is the core principle. That is the CODM from his eye of how he reviews the performance and allocate resources, the segments are identified. Then we are talking about actually 4 process, right? 4-step process. Identifying the CODM, how he reviews and analyzes the performance, plus contributes, allocates funds for the operation. We identified what are all the segments in which the entity is operating. Out of the segments, we have applied the 3 tests: 10% threshold limit of turnover, 10% threshold limit of result, 10% threshold limit of the asset we have applied, and identified what is a reportable segment. In that reportable segment, aggregate of the turnover of the reportable segment is not equivalent to minimum 75%. We will take from other segments also and show minimum 75%. And apart from that, if discretionarily, if management wanted to add for some other segment which they believe is relevant for the users to understand, then they can also add this. More than 75% also you can disclose. It is not an issue at all on a discretionary basis, right? So that is what we have seen on a reportable segment. After the reportable segment, we are making the various disclosure which is required to be given, explaining about the concepts, various items as segment assets, segment liabilities, segment profit, segment turnover, revenue, interest, tax, and all those things which we are trying to give. So apart from that, entity-wise disclosure also we have seen. Finally, we have seen the difference between AS 17 and Ind AS 108. I strongly believe this is an extensive discussion of Ind AS 108. After going through this video, you should not have any confusion about reporting under Ind AS 108. In case, if there is a practical question which you are having or some concept which I have not explained, you have complete right to post your questions or what is the clarification you are seeking for in our YouTube channel, which will be appropriately answered in the channel itself, so that every one of you will have the clarity of that particular concept. With that, I take leave and I will come back with another interesting standard as part of our Ind AS knowledge series videos. Thank you for your patient hearing. Goodbye.